in ancient Baghdad, a most beautiful...
So here we are with Tales of the Arabian Nights. This is really exciting for me. This game I played on June the 1st, 2018. And the funny thing is, it's sort of proof I have reverse performance anxiety. So instead of getting worried when it's time for the test, I get more intense and do better. So the fact that I knew that I was recording this game made me perform better. And as we'll see, this is the first time I've beaten the game in playing it. And I played maybe 40, 50 games of it. And it's been really cool because this is a resurgence in interest in pinball for me. I loved it as a kid. Was never very good at it. I remember playing one arcade version, like a real physical table, and doing all right with it, but that's about it. And I never really understood the bumping. But these computer simulations, which is what they are really cool. And this is of a real game. This game was made in 1996 by a fellow named John Papaduke Jr. He made a pinball game called Theater of Magic, which I haven't played yet, before this. And it's very similar in a sense to this game in terms of design and the difficulty level. So, as you can see, this game is based on Tales of the Arabian Nights. There's three significant features to it. There's the genie at the back, which you're supposed to bump, and when you bump, you can turn on one of these 6 myths, basically, which are missions that you have to complete and get these jewels on the scimitar. And when you get 6 jewels on the scimitar, you can go and fight the genie and win the game. And I'd never been able to do that prior to this particular gameplay, so that was pretty cool. We'll be able to watch that. I love the animation, I love the music. A lot of the games that you can play through this server are really annoying. the music and the sounds are annoying, and the boards are very bright, and I don't like them. But I like this one a lot. I like the art, and I like the sapphire triangles there. They'll light up in accordance with the music and that, and it's pretty cool on your way out. So we have the genie at the back, the lamp in the middle, which is a huge scoring machine. The more you spin it, this is ingenious, the more you spin it, the higher the points you get. And those points carry over from ball to ball, so it's like carrying your bonus with you. So if you get a 500,000 bonus from spinning that lamp, you'll get it every time you lose your ball. I am not the world's greatest player. Like I said, I've only been back for maybe 40, 50 games tops. And so I have a problem with what's called drains, which are when the ball goes out the sides at the bottom there or down the very bottom. And for some reason, I got lucky on this first ball, and I didn't have any drains. It just didn't really go over there, and I'm very fortunate that happened, and that allowed me to amass a very high score for me on this first ball, and also complete a lot of those quests. And so the third element, besides the genie and the lamp, is this ramp. And you look at it, there's kind of a joke here on one of the playthrough guides that there's like 3 miles of ramp. It's one ramp. It looks like multiple ramps, but it is just one, and various things can happen if diverters are opened or closed as you hit it up, the magic carpet ramp. And obviously you've got the 2 flippers at the bottom. So that's where we start with. It's unusual for pinball games in the sense that the object of pinball games is not only to win these quests, that's interesting, but to get the high score, right? To score as maximum a possible number of points. Well, for this game, they have cut off, the designer cut off a number of zeros compared to other games, so scores are technically much lower. High scores are around 40 million or so, and anything over 100 million is a world-class score. Well, I get that on this, so that's kind of cool. I'm literally reading that for the first time on this play guide, even though I've read this guide before, but I didn't see that before. So that's very cool. So the main toy of the game is the lamp in the middle. It's suspended on 2 posts, which kind of get in the way of shooting at the genie sometimes. And the posts are attached to this rotating disc. And if you can spin it about 180 degrees, you get points. That, like I said, is the major bonus creator of this game. Now, one of the things that I was not very good at before playing this particular playthrough was bumping or nudging, which with the controller that I'm using I can do. And it's just a joystick and you can bump it to try and keep the ball in play. And I was pretty successful, especially with this first ball, in keeping it in play in a way that I hadn't before. Normally it would just go down the drain. So I got very fortunate here. We got multi-ball going on right now, and I am not very good at that. I'm pretty good with the 2. If there's 3 going, I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to keep track of, and I'm not good at capturing them and holding them in one flipper and that, and using the rest. But with 2, I can kind of keep track of what's going on pretty easily. So that's kind of neat. So there's a lot of hidden treasures on this map, hidden locks up in behind the lamp and the genie and that, and places where bonuses can happen. There's also this bazaar area that comes up. If you go look at the lamp, just to the right of the lamp, there's a hole there, and that's the bazaar, and that will give you opportunities to get wishes and points, bonuses, things like that. Another thing I'm going for is a lot of multipliers. We just got a 4x here. That will multiply my bonus by 4 times at the end. So obviously a lot of spinning of the lamp and hitting the genie combined with a big multiplier can result in huge bonuses, millions and millions of points at the end. So I want to do that. So I pretty well know what I'm doing with this game. I don't know exactly where all the locks are in that, but I usually end up getting multi-ball a couple of times a game, which is fun. The genie multi-ball, there's actually a couple different ways to win multi-ball. But I had a lot of fun doing this. And this game is really a pleasure to play. Now we get these quests. Just got extra ball. And while this is why the game is easier than it might be otherwise, the way it's designed, fancy shot, went down the bazaar all the way around and down again, is once you get started on a quest and bump a couple of these yellow things, you could shoot the ramp probably, or put it into the bazaar if you've got a wish going, and be able to claim the jewel without having to do all the rigmarole of getting everything. So it's quite possible to get a jewel with just 2 flicks of the flipper if you're any good. The ramp, there's at least 5 possible paths for this ramp, which is pretty cool. It comes up and it curves around the back behind where the genie is, and then there's a diverter in there as it spins around this whirlpool, and the first time it'll probably come down on the right hand side to the right flipper. The second time, if you've got the fireball locked, it'll go around to the left and lock in that donut looking thing right to the left of the genie there, and start the fireball level where you need to flick it back up and hit the genie with the ball. You're sort of throwing the fireball back at the genie. And then various other things happen after that. And if it runs out of energy during that little corkscrew loop over there to the right of the genie, it'll just drop and come down, maybe at the top, or it'll come down that ramp, taking it to the right flipper. That's the fireball going on again.
Banish the genie.
And lots of neat things happen with this. So the lamp actually has a bonus count that counts up 1 by 1. The lamp spin is counted and scores 10,000 points. So you would multiply that by the bonus multiplier that I've got going on there. at the end of your ball. And then there's a lightning round where it starts at a base of 250,000 points per lamp spin, so that you kind of want to get that. And at the beginning, we won't look at this for a long time, but there's these 3 holes over here in front of where the plunger directs the ball up and in on the right hand side, and that's a skill shot thing. So you can drop it into 1, 2, or 3, and then it'll come down to the right flipper. And if you can pop it up the ramp right after that, which is something I like to do, you get bonus points for a skill shot, 50,000 to 250,000. And then I like to do a second shot up there to get the fireball going, if I can. So we're watching for Bazaar, we're watching for the genie and the lamps and the fireballs and that, and just putting shots together to try and get multi-ball going. That's a lot of what I'm going on with. And trying to finish all those tails. And here we've got another wish, and every time I'm going to collect that jewel because I want to get to the point where we can attack that genie and release the princess from the bottle she's in the game. So I wanted to get into a bit of a history of pinball. This is interesting to me because I thought, oh, pinball's probably been around for about 100 years, right? Well, it turned out no, it's twice as long as that. In the late 1700s, there were these things that almost looked like pachinko mixed with, from The Price is Right, mixed with pool or pinball as we know it today. Really weird. They started out during the reign of Louis XIV. They took a billiard table and narrowed it, and they would shoot balls with a stick from one end and try and drop it into holes or knock down pins and ricochet balls off the pins to get into harder holes, and that became known as bagatelle. And there was a Japanese craze going on between the 1750s and 1770s, and they turned this game bagatelle into a Japanese billiards japonais, Japanese billiards in England, despite the fact that it was invented in Western Europe, and they called it that. So that started getting to use the coiled spring and plunger. So it's interesting to notice how the game has adapted over time, right? It's evolved. Started out very mechanical. Obviously electricity hadn't been discovered yet, right? The scientists were just kind of mucking around with it at the time. They're just creating these spring-loaded things and we get hangovers of them, right? With the plunger that we've got today. There was a fellow from England named Montague Redgrave who moved to the US and started manufacturing bagatelle tables in Ohio, and he got a patent in 1871. And around this time, I'm just reading this from the Wikipedia article, it's pretty cool. The game is shrinking to fit on top of a tabletop or a counter, and we started using marbles as balls and created these metal pins instead of wood. So what it says here is that Redgrave's popularization of the spring launcher and innovations in game design are acknowledged as the birth of pinball in its modern form. So as we get to the later 1800s, that's when it starts. Now, while it is a game of entertainment and fun, somebody around the time of the Great Depression figured out, hey, this thing could be a nickel magnet or a dime magnet. And nowadays they're quarter magnets, right? So once we got into the 1930s, remember the Depression started in October 1929, the Gottlieb game called Baffle Ball became the first hit of this coin-operated era. And think about it, apparently they sold for $17.50. You gotta remember everything was worth a lot more, and there's been a ton of inflation since then, right? So, and so this is an investment that the owner would make in it, and then the game would charge you a penny and give you 5 to 7 balls. So, cheap entertainment in the Great Depression, right? Good stuff. We had a lot more drugstores at that time, which I think were more... I do not believe that a drugstore in that era was what we think of as a drugstore today. Most of us find... I guess maybe it's more like a CVS or a Walgreens, right? It might have a soda fountain in it or something. And so these guys started buying pinball machines, and they get the money back quickly, so they like that. And they're selling over 50,000 units of this game. But there was a distributor named Raymond Maloney in 1932 who says, damn, I don't have any more units of this game to sell. So he goes and he makes his own game called Ballyhoo. And it's a hit. He sells 50,000 units in 7 months. So he changes the design a little bit and changes the name of his company to Bally after his success. And Bally Midway was a name that popped right into my head from my own childhood. And it turns out that is like a 1970s or later adaptation, Bally buying and combining with this Midway company to create a manufacturing unit. As we get into the later 1930s, we come up with electricity in the game. And the whole point is to bring in lights. We already have maybe some sound and that, but things are being run with pulleys and relays and stuff, and it's still a very mechanical game, not electronic at all, but the lights from electricity are attracting attention, right, as they do in this game. And so that's what they were really interested in at that era. Williams, Harry Williams, formed his own company in 1944. So we get a lot of companies in this era. And I want you to think about this in terms of like coaching programs or internet marketing. So remember I said, okay, it's the Depression, people want cheap entertainment, somebody starts producing pinball games, they take off, somebody else sells a different thing, he sells 50,000 units in 7 months, right? Gold rush! You know, suddenly, by the end of 1932, there's about 150 companies producing pinball machines. I mean, it's just like today. There's no difference in human nature, and I really hope that that's the big business takeaway that you have from this video, right? Most of them are in Chicago. For some reason, I don't know why, but this is the center of pinball manufacturing. So the thing is, though, 2 years later, there's only 14 companies left, so less than 10% of them survive, right? And it's because every idiot and his brother goes, oh, I'm going to make pinball machines, I'm going to get into Bitcoin, I'm going to be a life coach, right? All this nonsense. So there's really no difference in human nature. So at the end of World War II, we start getting a lot of re-interest in pinball, especially when they're patriotically painted. Now I want to hop to a problem with pinball and gambling at the time. Okay, there is a guy who is Fiorello LaGuardia, and if you've ever heard of LaGuardia Airport, that's the guy it's named after. He was the mayor of New York for 1,000,000 years. Well, all right, it was 1934 to 1945. He was the 99th mayor of New York for 3 terms. Cool guy. And if you ever have the chance to learn about Robert Moses, Franklin Roosevelt as the governor, and Fiorello LaGuardia, their holy trinity, if you will, was the power of the Depression era funding into New York, okay, to create the highway system. Robert Moses was the guy who was the transportation planner for the whole state, and he designed these huge highways and would tear up entire neighborhoods to put in like a 6-lane highway in the era.
You're amazing.
Fiorello would get the money from Franklin Roosevelt, who was the president at the time, and the New Deal is on, right? Which is a huge redistribution of government taxed wealth, right? Back into the economy for specific works projects. So Robert Moses, who was not an elected official, had huge power for destroying these neighborhoods and putting up new transportation systems and generally changing the landscape of New York. Right? So these three guys really work together to do this. So anyway, LaGuardia decides that pinball is gambling, and he has to protect, I'm not joking, he has to protect all the little kids in school from being robbed of their hard-earned nickels and dimes by these evil pinball machines. And so if you can imagine this going on, they were raiding places in the city, collecting machines and destroying them and dumping the trash of the destroyed pinball machines into the East River. Like, not really, not environmentally conscious, right? If you're thinking about this. So this went on for a long time. This went on until 1976. This dude named Roger Sharp comes in to a Manhattan courtroom and starts talking to the governing body that's looking at this thing, committee members, and calls the shot as if he's Babe Ruth, right? You know, I'm going to do this here, this here. This isn't a game of gambling, he says. This is a game of skill. and he pulls the shot off. He does what he said he'd do, and all the people on the committee are astonished, and they say, okay, well, it must be. Later on, he says, geez, man, I got lucky. I mean, there's some skill involved, but man, I just got lucky on that shot. LA banned pinball machines in 1939 and brought them back in 1974 as well. So Chicago had a ban for 3 decades that ended in 1976. Philadelphia, Salt Lake City, same thing. So it's funny to think about pinball being a banned activity, huh? It is really, really weird. So I've lost my ball here finally, and I'm getting this huge bonus 12 times, and I'm getting 13,800,000 points off the one bonus. And that, like, you gotta understand, I would play whole games and not get that much sometimes. So not easy, right? That was a great first ball, and then I've got 2 extra balls here that I'm getting to play. And we will notice that the drain problem that I talked about earlier comes back to haunt me. I lose the balls both times in a very similar way. Probably using the left flipper and it bumping off the right side and draining down the left drain. And that is incredibly frustrating to me because in general, while I have time sense to see what's going on when it's trying to drain down the middle, and sometimes I still don't make it, I still can do something about it. But going out those side drains, it happens so fast for me that I don't have time yet to react and bump. So I'm hoping, like, there it goes. Son of a nutcracker. It makes me furious. Because I'm like, look, give us a chance, you know. I don't even have a chance to do anything. So back to the 30s, we got electrification, active bumpers, and that coming up, and it's becoming more popular as a game again. Through the 40s, we get a couple new designers, but then we get to the 70s, and the 70s is an exciting time because what do we have going on? We have personal computers coming in, right? And so microprocessors show up. We get electronic gaming, and that means we can have electromagnetic relays, okay, that are just wiped out and replaced with circuit boards. And you get these digital displays, which are doing the cool things like we're seeing up in the top left corner there, right? That is the display that you would see above the machine if you were standing there in front of it. However, just like video killed the radio star, the video game boom of the 80s kills pinball at the time. Okay, and it's interesting because pinball has had this peaks and valleys of interest, and so the 80s was a real valley. People were playing, well, I was playing Space Invaders and Pac-Man and Zaxxon, those kinds of arcade machines at the roller skating rink when I was a little kid. not, I mean, they had a pinball game there, but you know, I'd much rather try and play Zaxxon, which is a damn hard game for a 6-year-old, I would tell you.
Go for the gold.
As we got into the 90s, there's a bit of a resurgence in the early 90s. There's a game based on the Addams Family that comes from Bally/Williams, but not Bally Midway, but Bally Williams. The Addams Family hits an all-time modern sales record of 20,270 machines. So, because it was a good game, I guess, you know, that's what people are getting excited about. And the designs are happening. So, and that led to this game that we're looking at now. This game was produced in 1996. There's a lot of technical stuff going on here, right? There's a lot of advanced design and artwork, and how do you put it together, right? It's not just a bunch of bumpers and what's that? There's that other drain. It's so annoying. And the scores were basically equal as well. So a lot of closing down though of companies. Gottlieb, Capcom, and Alvin G closed by the end of '96. The last two companies left were Sega Pinball, and Williams, and that's it. And I'll bet, should look it up, but I'll bet you this game here that we're looking at sold 4,000 units or less. Even though people love it, like the people I love it. The people who really like pinball tend to love this game because I'm bumping successfully this time. Because of its design and the music and the lighting and that, it's really well designed. So it's still producing some units at the end of the 90s. There was a Star Wars Episode 1. It was kind of a negative experience. It only sold 3,500 machines. And really, Sega, I believe, sold their division, yeah, to Gary Stern. So you had Stern Pinball and Williams. And it says here most of the members of the design teams for Stern Pinball are former employees of Williams. So it's a very small industry, right? It's like NASA and the space program. All the NASA scientists get to go to work somewhere else. So there was a bit of a revival in the 2000s. There's something called the Pinball Factory in Melbourne, Australia, but nothing seemed to happen with it. That would have been kind of cool. And a Spanish company, which was the first game that they made that had a liquid crystal display screen in the box. That's pretty cool. They're continuing to produce new machines, but I don't know how pinball is going to fare in the future. I mean, guys like me who are in their 40s there's a definite nostalgia factor. It was a lot of fun to play this. You can play this yourself on Steam, by the way. It's free. I like that. I did a bunch of research. Oh, and here's what brought this up too. I was doing some like mindset type exercises and that, and one of the things that came up was when you win, how do you feel, and what is that experience like, right? And this is what drove this whole thing that led us to this here today, all right? And it's like 12:38 a.m. on the 3rd or the 4th or something like that of June, a few days after I played this game, and I'm having the chance to record this. What does winning sound like to Jason Kanigan? And there's a thing called the knocker, and we've heard it in this game when I got the extra ball and that. And I'm about to fight for the win here. Shoot the yellow symbols.
Time is running out.
The symbol that the sound that I hear is the knocker, which is a solenoid. It's just a magnetic thing, a bar that's drawn back and slammed into the side of the machine on the inside, and it makes it sound like something broke. And I love that sound. I've loved it ever since I was a little kid. It's this crack sound. Man, that just says it right there to me that, hey, you won the game, right? You did something really cool. So that is the noise that I hear. Oh boy, that was close to a train right there. About when I win. That led me into studying, well, wait a minute, because I didn't even know what a knocker was or how it was made or anything like that. And, 5 minutes of researching will show you that. And then I Googled around to see, well, okay, what pinball, because I know pinball games and machines are thousands of dollars. What can I play on the computer that's a good pinball game? And there are a few of them, but this one kept coming up, and I liked that it was free. And they let you come in through that entry screen and try out all the different tables. You can try them out to a low score and see if you like them. And I played this one a few times, and I tried the others, and I really didn't like most of them. It reminded me of TV commercials. They were loud and not relevant to me, right? So I came back to this and decided I was going to get good at it, and that seemed to work well. So I'm supposed to kill these skeletons by, hitting the genie or knocking these golden symbols around and that. And that's what I'm doing. And then I've got to shoot the genie. So we're going to concentrate on that for right now. Boom.
Shoot the golden symbols.
Love that ramp. It's great design. It takes me forever to kill this last skeleton because I don't know where to shoot. I know let's say I know it's to the left or the right, but getting the ball there is not always easy. It's a lot easier for me to shoot that ramp.
Battle the skeletons.
I think I gotta be careful because I'm being timed. Skeletons keep popping up if I don't deal with it.
I cannot be defeated.
So once I deal with this final skeleton, I have to fight the genie, and it's done in an interesting way. They keep giving you balls, and you have to manage this. If you leave them there, you get punished. In the plunger area and the shooter area on the right, it's unlimited balls until somebody wins. So you got to keep shooting the balls in and dealing with them and trying to hit the genie, and it's not easy. And yet it all came together really quickly for me. I was surprised at how fast I won at this point. And it's not like I'm a pinball genius. And as I'm playing, and suddenly I discover I win. I'm like, huh.
You've made me so happy. I'm all yours.
Yeah, I don't know about that little sound bite. I mean, that's 90s. I don't know if they'd have done it today. I'm all yours. Yeah. So I'm gonna quit talking. There is more to the game because it resets and just lets you shoot again until you die. And I died on a drain right down the middle. So that was kind of frustrating, but I was really happy with the high score. And then I'm trying to enter my name, and there's a bug on here where you can't select the initial you want. It's always one off or something. So I'm trying to type JJJ, and I start typing KK, and I'm like, nah, I probably don't want to write KKK. So I moved it over to I, and it only goes in one direction too, even though it looks like it.
That was wicked.
It doesn't. But I hope you enjoyed this, and I was really pleased to be able to share some of the history of pinball, study on this stuff myself. I found out a lot, and I'm looking forward to hearing more of that crack sound of the knocker. Talk to you soon.
Spin the land. You're amazing. Banish the genie. Wonderful. Make a wish.
You now possess the jewel of the rocks.
Wonderful. Choose your destiny.